Picture this. A king rides into the capital city of a nation on the edge of war. He has every reason to arrive with heavy armor, backed by legions of armed men. Instead, he rides in on a borrowed donkey, completely empty-handed, while the crowd surrounding him is already sharpening swords. That's not a scene from a Hollywood movie. That's Palm Sunday. And on March 29, 2026, Pope Leo XIV stood in St. Peter's Square before 200,000 pilgrims and told a modern world on fire that this king, the King of Peace, is the only real answer to the violence tearing our global landscape apart. Today, we're going to unpack exactly what he said, why he chose this precise moment to say it, and why his words might be the most radically countercultural thing you will hear all week. Whether you're a devout Catholic preparing for Holy Week, someone searching for spiritual anchor points in a chaotic news cycle, or just curious about how the papacy speaks to geopolitical crisis, stay with me. Because by the end of this hour, you will see Palm Sunday not as an ancient ritual, but as an active blueprint for your life, your workplace, and your family today. To understand the weight of this homily, we have to look at the exact coordinate in time and space where it occurred. March 29, 2026 was Palm Sunday. Crucially, this marked the very first Palm Sunday of Pope Leo XIV pontificate. Across the globe, all eyes were on the Vatican. The world was watching closely to see how the first American-born pontiff would navigate the profound spiritual and political responsibility of leading over 1.3 billion Catholics during a moment of intense global volatility. The setting was iconic. St. Peter's Square under a morning sky. Tens of thousands gathered outdoors, holding blessed palm branches, symbolizing the very palms waved by the crowd in Jerusalem 2 millennia ago. Now, for those watching who may not be Catholic or who are returning to the faith after some time, let's talk about what makes Palm Sunday unique in the liturgical calendar. Palm Sunday is built on a profound liturgical contrast, what theologians often call spiritual whiplash. The liturgy begins outside the church doors with a joyful procession. We sing Hosanna, waving palm branches to welcome Jesus as the long-awaited King entering his capital city. But then, within the exact same Mass, the atmosphere shifts dramatically. We sit down, open the scriptures, and read the entire account of the Passion. His betrayal, his arrest, his brutal torture, and his public execution. Why does the Church design the service this way? Because that rapid transition from praise to execution isn't an accident. It's a mirror. It deliberately exposes how fast human loyalty can curdle, how quickly a crowd can shift from chanting praises to demanding blood when a leader fails to fulfill their political or personal expectations. And that brings us to the central image Pope Leo XIV anchored his homily on: Jesus as a king who enters not to conquer through military force, but to absorb violence rather than return it. As Pope Leo noted, while the world around Jesus was actively stirring up conflict, Christ remained steadfast in meekness. He didn't rally a militia. He didn't issue a manifesto against Rome. He stepped straight into the gears of execution with a broken heart and an absolute gift of love. Let's look deeply into what that actually means for us today. Let's break down Pope Leo XIV homily into 5 critical theological pillars. Point 1. A king defined by restraint, not conquest. In his homily, Pope Leo framed Jesus walking the way of the cross not with a display of political dominance, but with, in the Pope's own words, his broken heart and his life as a gift of love. Now, let's analyze why this statement is so radical. In the ancient Greco-Roman world, and honestly in most of human history, kings proved their legitimacy through military conquest. A king was someone who had the power to inflict death on his enemies. When Jesus rode into Jerusalem, the first-century Jewish population was under a brutal Roman occupation. They were desperate for a political liberator, a military messiah who would break the back of Caesar's legions. When Jesus chose a donkey instead of a war horse, and when he later refused to let Peter draw a sword in the Garden of Gethsemane, it was utterly scandalous. It shattered their expectations. Jesus proved his divinity precisely by refusing to use force to save himself. And let's be honest with ourselves. Isn't that just as scandalous to a 21st century culture raised on movies, political discourse, and social media dynamics where the hero is defined by crushing their opponents? We worship power. Christ models absolute restraint. Point 2. King of Peace. Though darkness is about to engulf the earth, look at the tension in that phrase. Notice that Pope Leo doesn't define peace as the absence of trouble. The darkness was literally closing in on Jesus. Betrayal by a close friend, abandonment by his disciples, judicial corruption, and public execution. Yet, in the middle of that storm, Jesus remains the King of Peace. In modern culture, we often confuse peace with comfort or having no problems. But biblical peace, shalom, is not a passive, quiet environment. It is an internal, structural wholeness that remains unbroken even when the external world is collapsing around you. Jesus wasn't peaceful because the situation was safe. He was peaceful because his identity was completely rooted in the Father. Point 3. Why the Pope chose this frame amid real wars. We cannot read this homily in a vacuum. March 2026 has been marked by geopolitical anxiety, active military conflicts in multiple regions, escalating nuclear rhetoric, and deep humanitarian crises. Pope Leo XIV didn't write an abstract theological essay for scholars. As an American-born pope who has spent his early pontificate issuing direct diplomatic appeals to world leaders, his Palm Sunday message was a direct, prophetic word spoken into the morning news headlines. He was speaking directly to world leaders and citizens alike, insisting that weaponized escalation is a spiritual dead end. Point 4. No one can use Jesus to justify war. This line, highlighted in Vatican communications following the liturgy, deserves our full attention. Throughout history, political systems, empires, and ideological movements have tried to recruit Jesus as a mascot for their aggressive agendas. They put crosses on shields, cited scripture to justify conquest, and claimed God was on their side in nationalistic wars. Pope Leo XIV effectively shuts down that move. The Palm Sunday image, a king who allows himself to be arrested and killed rather than call down 12 legions of angels, is the ultimate rebuttal to holy war rhetoric. You cannot take the non-violent, self-sacrificing Christ of Palm Sunday and transform him into a justification for state-sponsored destruction or ideological aggression. Point 5. The theology of we place ourselves behind him. Finally, Pope Leo reminded us that Palm Sunday is not a spectator sport. We aren't historical tourists standing safely on the sidewalk watching Jesus pass by. The Pope used the phrase, "We place ourselves behind him." This is the foundation of the ancient Christian practice of the Via Crucis, the Stations of the Cross. It's an embodied theology. It means that to call yourself a Christian is not merely to agree with a set of abstract doctrines. It means physically walking in his footsteps. It means choosing meekness when you have the power to destroy. It means absorbing injury rather than passing it along to the next person. It is very easy to listen to a papal homily and think, that was a beautiful message for world leaders. But if we leave it there, we miss the point. The gospel always demands a personal address. How do we take Pope Leo XIV call to divine meekness and live it out over the next 7 days? Let's make this intensely practical across 4 areas of daily life. 1. At work. The conference room strategy. What does meekness that doesn't stir up violence look like when a coworker undermines you in front of your manager or steals credit for a project? The worldly response is immediate escalation, retaliation, gossip, or passive-aggressive sabotage. The Palm Sunday response isn't passivity or letting people walk over you. It's refusing to let their hostility dictate your character. It's addressing the issue with firm, quiet truth without resorting to character assassination. 2. Online. Resisting the digital mob. Look at the Palm Sunday trajectory again. Hosanna on Sunday. Crucify him by Friday. Does that sound familiar? That is the exact operating algorithm of modern social media. Viral exaltation followed by brutal cancel culture and public dogpiling within a 48-hour news cycle. When an online mob forms around someone who made a mistake, as followers of Christ, we must refuse to join the crowd throwing stones. We must choose to be followers of the King, not members of the mob. 3. In the family. Stopping the spread of domestic conflict. Here is a challenge for Holy Week. Identify one relationship in your family where you are currently stirring up violence. Even if it's just through sarcastic jabs, silent treatments, or constant criticism. Before Easter morning arrives, choose one concrete act of active peace. Apologize first. Let go of the need to have the last word in an ongoing argument. Absorb the offense instead of returning it. 4. In political division, refusing to use Christ as a mascot in our polarized political climate, it is very tempting to enlist the Prince of Peace to endorse our political party while condemning our neighbors. Pope Leo XIV homily challenges believers across the entire political spectrum. Before pointing fingers across the aisle, we have to ask ourselves, am I using Christ to bless my political tribalism, or am I letting Christ dismantle my political hostility? Let's take 60 seconds right now for a quiet, guided self-examination. A brief spiritual examen as we enter Holy Week. Wherever you are, take a deep breath, close your eyes if you're able, and ponder these 2 questions. Where today did I reach for the sword? In my words, my thoughts, or my reactions? And where in my life this week can I choose the donkey? The path of quiet restraint, peace, and self-sacrificing love? Earlier this week, We posted on our community tab asking for your questions regarding Pope Leo XIV homily and the theology of Palm Sunday. Let me address 3 remarkable questions you submitted. Question 1, from Mark in Ohio. Isn't it naive or even dangerous to talk about not fighting back when innocent people are being persecuted or attacked in the world right now? Mark, this is a vital question. Catholic social teaching makes a clear distinction between individual spiritual posture and the moral obligation of states to protect the innocent. The Church has a long-standing just defense doctrine, which affirms that nations have a moral right and duty to protect vulnerable citizens from unjust aggressors. Pope Leo XIV is not denying a government's duty to defend its people. Rather, he is warning against the spirit of total war, vengeance, and the illusion that violence itself can permanently heal human hearts. The Church holds both the call to personal nonviolence and the duty to protect the weak in a delicate, necessary tension. Question 2 from Elena in London. Why palms specifically? What is the actual biblical and historical symbolism behind them? Great historical question, Elena. In the ancient Near East and Greco-Roman world, palm branches were symbols of military triumph, royal victory, and national sovereignty. They were used when conquering generals returned from war, and notably during the Maccabean Revolt when Jewish fighters celebrated their independence. When the crowd waved palms for Jesus, they were treating him like a victorious military general. The profound irony of Palm Sunday is that Jesus was entering to win a victory, but his victory wouldn't come by shedding the blood of his enemies, but by shedding his own blood on the cross. Question 3 from David in Texas. Is the Pope taking a partisan political side when he speaks out so strongly against war? David, it can often feel that way in our hyperpolarized media landscape, but the answer is no. When the Pope speaks against war, he is not taking a partisan political side. He is upholding a consistent, decades-long papal magisterium. From Pope Giacomo della Chiesa during World War I, to St. John Paul II during the Gulf War, to Pope Francis, and now Pope Leo XIV, the Vatican's moral position has remained steady. War is always a defeat for humanity, and peace must be pursued through diplomatic, just means whenever humanly possible. It is a moral stance grounded in the gospel, not a party platform. If this breakdown helped you enter Holy Week with fresh eyes and a deeper perspective, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Next week, we are continuing our Holy Week analysis by breaking down Pope Leo XIV Holy Thursday homily, where the Pope gets on his knees to perform the sacred act of washing feet, uncovering what true servant leadership looks like in a self-absorbed world. I want to hear from you down in the comments. Where in your life this week do you need to choose the donkey over the sword? Drop your thoughts below. Thank you for spending this hour with us. May you have a blessed, peaceful, and transformative Holy Week. God bless you,